Hello and welcome to this edition of News on the Hour. I'm Rukma with you, and at the very beginning we go across live to the Delhi Regional Security Dialogue on Afghanistan, which is being held in the national capital. Welcome back. Well, as we were telling you early in the morning during the breakfast show, this is a very crucial dialogue that is set to take place. Leaders from Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, many other Central Asian countries, including Russia, to participate.
And to exchange our vision of the current situation in areas of mutual cooperation. The Republic of Kazakhstan monitors with high attention the threats and challenges that are coming from Afghanistan. With the Taliban movement coming to power, the situation inside the country remains complicated. There are many obstacles to form an effective government system. Terrorist organizations are intensifying their activities. We are strongly concerned with the operations of the Central Asian fighters. The social and economic situation of the Afghans is deteriorating, and the country is facing the humanitarian crisis. It's necessary to increase the humanitarian assistance for Afghan people. Stabilization of Afghanistan demands the efforts of the whole international community. It is highly important to begin concrete actions. I am confident that this event will allow us to find practical steps for stabilization of the situation in Afghanistan and promote our cooperation to the new level in the interest of the security of our countries. Thank you for your attention.
Mr. Karim Massimo, for your opening.
To the new level in the interest of the security of our countries. Thank you for your attention.
Mr. Karim Massimo, for your opening remarks. And may I now request the Secretary of the Security Council
of the Delhi
Republic,
Regional Security Dialogue on Afghanistan.
I welcome all the colleagues in this dialogue. I understand it's a very difficult problem in our region and all over the world. This is regarding the activity of terrorist organizations which is on the territory of Afghanistan. In Afghanistan also this process is happening. I hope that we'll discuss with our colleagues our joint activities, fight with extremism, terrorism, and I think it is the help that we should be extending to Afghan people, and other questions also we will discuss. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. Well, those are live visuals we're getting you of the dialogue, Delhi dialogue on Afghanistan.
Other questions also we will discuss. Thank you so much.
Well, the Delhi dialogue on Afghanistan underway. Countries from across Central Asia and Russia too participating. And on India's side, it's Security Advisor Ajit Doval representing
for
India's
the exemplary organization of this event. I am convinced that today's meeting will give additional impulse to the development of cooperation of our states in the Afghan dimension and will help the speediest restoration of long-lasting peace in that country. Multilateral meetings of the Secretaries of Security Councils on the Afghan issue is an important format that helps us to discuss the whole package of issues linked to the development situation in Afghanistan on the highest level. It also helps us to elaborate practical measures to counter challenges and threats emanating from the Afghan territory. We expect that the practice of holding such meetings will be continued further, including by introducing other relevant regional questions in the agenda. In general, we note the increased activity of international and regional stakeholders in the Afghan dimension and the creation of new formats. We can cite Italian initiative on calling an emergency summit of the G20 on Afghanistan, the regional mechanism of Russia, China, Pakistan and Iran, the meeting of neighboring countries of Afghanistan, as well as the meeting of the Turkic Council. All these events are surely important. We are also convinced that such dialogue mechanisms should not duplicate the meeting of neighboring countries of Afghanistan, as well as the meeting of the Turkic Council. All these events are surely important. We are also convinced that such dialogue mechanisms should not duplicate the work of each other, but rather complement each other. From my point of view, we presume that the Moscow format of consultations on Afghanistan retains its important potential, because it lets us coordinate efforts to help Afghanistan to settle the Afghan issue, considering the new political environment in that country. I am pleased to note that on the 20th of October, all the delegations of the countries present here took part in the third meeting of the Moscow format of consultations on Afghanistan that confirmed its effectiveness due to the broad representation of stakeholders. The collective initiative enunciated by its country participants, initiative to organize an international donor conference, will help us move towards normalization of the situation in Afghanistan and, as a result, to ensure stability in the region. In Moscow, we laid a good foundation to determine the position of our countries regarding the development of the dialogue with the Taliban, as well as to practically coordinate our efforts, the efforts of all stakeholders of the region. I expect that today we will be able to make another step forward in elaborating common measures of ensuring national security and maintaining regional stability. I wish us all a productive day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patrushev.
Well, that was the live visuals. We are getting you there from New Delhi as the Delhi dialogue on Afghanistan, on security in Afghanistan, mainly concentrating on the issue of rehabilitation for people in Afghanistan after the situation there, after the chaotic situation there. Countries from across Central Asia and Russia too participating in this all-important summit. Various issues related to Afghanistan will be discussed.
I want to
Уважаемый председатель, уважаемые участники диалога, прежде всего хотел бы выразить глубокую признательность правительству Индии за организацию нашего диалога, за приглашение и оказанное гостеприимство. Организация сегодняшнего мероприятия в очном формате свидетельствует о том, что наши страны заинтересованы в становлении Афганистана в качестве политически стабильного, мирного и развивающего государства, свободного от терроризма и наркопреступности, соблюдающего фундаментальные права и свободы человека.
liberties of humans are being worshipped and developed.
военно-политическую и геополитическую обстановку,
considering the political and geopolitical situation in the world and the situation regarding the regional security, and we can understand why we are concerned as we have a long border with Afghanistan, and of course the current situation creates extra risk and possibility for growth of drug trafficking, terrorism and criminality. The situation on the Tajik and Afghan border remains complicated. Currently, under the influence of many negative factors and socio-economical factors, we can say that Afghanistan might face a real humanitarian catastrophe, especially considering the upcoming winter. So we need to find a solution to provide all the necessities for the population of Afghanistan. And we should all work together and cooperate as the world leaders towards that. And we as the neighboring country are ready to participate in all programs that can help to the people of Afghanistan. Thank you so much. Express my gratitude once again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nasrullah Mahmood Zada, for your observations and your remarks. Now, I would request the Deputy Chairman of the Cabinet of Minister of Turkmenistan on Security and Secretary of State Security Council of Turkmenistan, His Excellency Mr. Charimiret Ambov.
Уважаемый господин Аджит Тавал, уважаемые коллеги, от имени делегации Туркменистана хочу поблагодарить индийскую сторону и лично вас, господин Аджит Тавал, за организацию данного мероприятия и благоприятные условия для плодотворной работы.
For this invitation and for this fruitful work. Regarding to the Afghanistan's situation, as you know, that recently what happened in a very short time of period, what happened in Afghanistan, we have seen like the situations in the Afghanistan, and it is required to work together. I am sure that this will give us opportunity to work together to create peace in this region and to find out some solutions which can improve the situation in Afghanistan and in all region. I wish all the best and successful work. Thank you very much for the attention.
And as we were telling you, those are live visuals. India is hosting the Delhi Regional Security Dialogue on Afghanistan. The dialogue is being held at the level of National Security Advisors or Secretaries of Security Councils.
Let me express my gratitude to the Indian side for this dialogue. As we know that the format of this meeting has been developed from the recent developments in Afghanistan. Today, Afghanistan Afghanistan is having a very difficult situation, and we have to find some possible solutions to make peace in that particular region, and so that we can have peace in this region. And in related to Afghanistan, it is required to collect together, gather together to restore peace in this region as well as in the world. We are ready to work together with all the countries for security and for infrastructure, for other related projects, and for the Turkmenistan. Today, these representatives from various countries to establish the peace in the countries. We are sure that today we will get fruitful result and methods and ways to find out how to improve relations with Afghanistan. Thank you very much for your attention.
And as we were telling you, India is hosting the Delhi Regional Security Dialogue on Afghanistan, and it's being held at the level of national security advisors and secretaries of a number of countries, India among them, being represented by National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. Iran hosted the first 2 editions of the dialogue. The issue this time around is the situation arising in Afghanistan and neighboring areas after the chaos, after the US Army's exit from Afghanistan, and mostly focusing on rehabilitation and relief for the Afghan people. And as we were telling you, leaders from across Central Asia, including Iran, Kazakhstan, the Kyrgyz Republic, Russia, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan are participating. They are being represented by their national security advisors or secretaries of a Security Council. And the high-level dialogue will review security in the region arising from recent developments in Afghanistan, among them the issues of terrorism and the possibility of increased drug trafficking in the region. All that and more in a short while, but now it's time for a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
As the day unfolds and news and events take shape, we get you complete coverage of every news breaking in, tracking new developments as they happen. Midday Prime English, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. We are getting you the live visuals of the dialogue, the Delhi dialogue on security in Afghanistan. And you were just listening to leaders, security advisors and secretaries of Security Council of various nations in Central Asia, which include the Kyrgyz Republic, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan and various other nations speak. And now let's take a look at news that we have for you in our bulletin. Heavy downpour is wreaking havoc in Tamil Nadu. At least 5 people are reported dead in rain-related incidents across the state. 20 teams of the NDRF are being deployed in the state as well as in Andhra Pradesh in the wake of heavy rain alert issued by the Met Department till the 11th of this month. In the wake of the weather forecast, the state government has announced holidays for schools and colleges in 26 districts of Tamil Nadu due to heavy rains. An orange alert has been issued for 14 districts, including Coimbatore, Dindigul, Tirunelveli and Theni. Fishermen have been advised not to venture into the sea up to the 12th of this month. A government helpline number 1913-1913 has been provided for the public to raise rain-related grievances. An update now on the COVID-19 nationwide vaccination drive. The vaccination coverage has crossed 109 crores. Now, over 109 crore, 63 lakh vaccine doses have been administered so far across the country. More than 52.69 lakh vaccine doses were administered in the past 24 hours. And now an update on the COVID-19 situation across the country. The recovery of 11,961 patients in the last 24 hours has increased the cumulative tally of recovered patients 3,37,07,047. Consequently, India's recovery rate stands at 98.25%. Sustained and collaborative efforts by the centre and the states and union territories continues the trend of less than 50,000 daily new cases being reported for 136 consecutive days now. 11,466 new cases were reported in the past 24 hours. The active case load is presently at 1,39,683, the lowest in 264 days. Active cases presently constitute 1.41% of total positive cases, which is lowest since March 2020. Testing capacity continues to be expanded. The last 24 hours saw a total of 12,78,728 tests being conducted. India has so far conducted over 61.85 crore cumulative tests, while testing capacity has been enhanced. Weekly positivity rate at 1.20% remains less than 2% for the past 47 days. Daily positivity rate is reported to be 0.90%. Daily positivity rate has remained below 2% for the last 37 days and below 3% for 72 consecutive days now. Union Health Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia has said that at present 96 countries have agreed to mutual acceptance of vaccination certificates. The 96 countries include Canada, the United States, Australia, Russia, UK, France and Germany. And they have recognized Indian vaccination certificates of travellers fully vaccinated with Covishield and WHO and nationally approved other COVID vaccines.
WHO ने कोवैक्सीन को मान्यता देने के बाद दुनिया में 96 कंट्री ने इंडियन दोनों वैक्सीन कोवैक्सीन और कोविशील्ड को मान्यता दी है और अधिक कंट्रीज से मान्यता मिले, इसलिए हेल्थ मिनिस्ट्री और विदेश मंत्रालय दोनों साथ में मिलकर प्रयास कर रहे हैं.
And the health minister expressed happiness over the decision of WHO to include 2 vaccines made in India for emergency use.
WHO ने इमरजेंसी यूज लिस्ट में कुल 8 वैक्सीन को शामिल किया है. हमें खुशी है कि उसमें से कोविशील्ड और कोवैक्सीन 2 भारत की कंपनियों ने बनाई है और वो भारतीय कंपनियों के द्वारा बनी है. भारतीय रिसर्च से बनी हुई एक उसमें से वैक्सीन है, इसलिए हमें विशेष खुशी भी है और गर्व भी है.
And physical classes for classes 3 to 7 resumed in Himachal Pradesh as COVID cases continue to show a decline in the Himalayan state. All schools reopened with all COVID-19 safety protocols. Physical classes in the state will also resume for students of classes 1 and 2 from November 15th onwards. Schools have already resumed for students of classes 8 to 12 in accordance with all COVID-19 protocols. Transport bus services also resumed with full capacity instead of the earlier 50% norms. Bangalore Tech Summit 2021, Asia's largest technology event, is scheduled to be held from November 17th to the 19th in a hybrid format. The summit, which is the annual flagship event of the government of Karnataka, will be inaugurated by Vice President Venkaiah Naidu. Dr. Ashwatha Narayana, Karnataka Minister for Electronics and Information Technology, said that the 24th edition of the event with the theme Driving the Next will see the participation of over 30 countries with more than 300 speakers and more than 25,000 attendees. The digital edition is expected to reach around 500,000 tech enthusiasts with more than 75 conference sessions. The high-profile event, which rides on the mantra of reform, transform and perform, will also witness the participation of Naftali Bennett, Prime Minister of Israel, Professor Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum founder and chairman, Martin Schroeter, CEO, Kyndryl, among a host of international industry captains. Senior ministers and officials from central and state governments will also be participating. The inaugural ceremony on November 17th will be presided by Thaur Chand Gehlot, Governor of Karnataka, Union Minister of Communications, Electronics and IT Ashwini Vaishnav, Union Minister of State for Electronics and IT Rajiv Chandrasekhar, and Chief Minister of Karnataka Basavaraj Bommai, who will be attending. India has called for reform at the UN Security Council for dealing with the complex challenges of today's world. While addressing the UN Security Council open debate, Minister of State for External Affairs Dr. Rajkumar Ranjan Singh said there is a need to reform the international structure to maintain peace and security. He said that today it is necessary that terrorism in any form is condemned and those who support it in any way should be held accountable.
The spread of terrorism, particularly in the countries facing conflicts, can reverse the effort of the international community. It is therefore imperative that terrorism in any form or manifestation is condemned, and those supporting it any manner are held responsible.
President Ramnath Kovind on Tuesday presented the Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan and Padma Shri Awards for the year 2021. In case you had not noticed, the Padma Awards are no longer the preserve of the entitled. Now it is open to grassroots achievers. Little wonder then that people like Tulsi Gowda and Hajjabba from Karnataka or Chultim Chonjor from Ladakh are the proud and deserving recipients of the awards. The next report tells you how the Padma Awards have become a people's movement.
श्रीमती तुलसी गौड़ा, समाज सेवा, पर्यावरण.
A barefoot ecologist treading the grand carpets at Rashtrapati Bhavan. An image that says it all. Tulsi Gowda, a tribal from Karnataka and a walking encyclopedia of forest, was conferred the Padma Shri for 2020.
श्री हरेकल हाजब, समाज सेवा.
Meet Hajjabba, another Padma Shri recipient. He is an uneducated fruit seller from Karnataka who took it upon himself to educate children in his village.
श्रीमती राहीबाई सोमा पोपरे, कृषि।
Rahibai Soma Poper has been conferred the Padma Shri as an agro-biodiversity conservationist. She is a self-taught farmer, also known as seed mother.
श्री चुलटिम चौंजोर, समाज सेवा।
Chultim Chonzor from Ladakh built a 38-kilometer road from connecting Ramyak to Kargyak village in remote Zanskar region. Today, he is a Padma Shri awardee.
मैंने एक वर्षों का काम किया था हिमाचल और संस्कार के उसमें बिजनेस बिल को जो अंदर था, तो मैंने 38 किलोमीटर मैंने बनाया था। तो सरकार जी ने हमारे नाम पे पद्मश्री का वो अवार्ड सेंक्शन किया। तो उसके बाद मैं वही कहना चाहता हूँ सबसे गवर्नमेंट को शुक्रिया।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted, I felt extremely happy to see grassroots level achievers being recognized for their exemplary efforts to further public good. Over the last few years, Padma Awards have truly become the people's awards. Of the people, for the people and by the people. The Modi government has given more importance to the work of the nominees than to their identities. Departing from the tradition of selected persons recommending the nominees, the nomination process was open to the public at large in 2017, making it a people's movement. The People's Padma movement marks a paradigm shift in Jan Bhagidari for building a new India. This throwback image of centenarian Padma Shri Thimaka, also known as the Mother of Trees, blessing President Ramnath Kovind as she received her award in 2019 for social work is one that endures. (2018) saw the Darbar Hall of Rashtrapati Bhavan open up to those from the grassroots who would otherwise have remained unsung heroes.
And it's time now for a short break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
With the world's largest COVID vaccination drive, India is leading the way. As the vaccine reaches every corner of the nation, do not forget the mantra, Dawai bhi, Kadai bhi. Let's continue our fight against COVID-19. Vaccination along with social distancing, sanitization and masks.
Mask up, India!
Put your mask on and cover your nose and be safe.
Mask up, India.
Welcome back after the break. And now for some international news. A US government agency on Tuesday said 13 senior members of former President Donald Trump's administration violated a law that limits political campaigning by government employees, faulting them for creating a taxpayer-funded campaign apparatus within the White House. In a 65-page report, the U.S. Office of Special Counsel identified instances in which Trump advisors, including Jared Kushner and Kellyanne Conway, used their official authority to promote Trump's 2020 presidential election campaign. OSC said discipline was no longer possible because the Trump administration officials have left office, but said it was issuing the report to highlight enforcement challenges and to deter future violations. OSC is an independent federal watchdog within the U.S. government that investigates violations of the Hatch Act, a law limiting the political participation and speech of federal employees. The report was the culmination of an investigation that began while Trump was in office, following his decision to hold the 2020 Republican National Convention at the White House. Meanwhile, a federal judge ruled on Tuesday that the U.S. House of Representatives committee investigating the deadly January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol can access former President Donald Trump's White House records in a win for congressional investigators. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan in the District of Columbia rejected an argument by Trump's lawyers that telephone records, visitor logs and other White House documents should be hidden from the committee. Trump had argued that the materials requested by the House committee were covered by a legal doctrine known as executive privilege that protects the confidentiality of some White House communications. He requested an injunction blocking the National Archives, a federal agency that holds his White House records, from complying with the committee's document requests. The committee has said it needs the requested materials to understand the role Trump may have played in fomenting the riot. Trump supporters stormed the Capitol in a failed bid to prevent Congress from formally certifying now President Joe Biden's election victory. Biden, a Democrat, took office on January 20th, when around 700 people face criminal charges stemming from the riot that took place. And a cold wave is sweeping across many parts of China since the past few days, bringing heavy snowfall and plunging temperatures. Strong winds and heavy snow have hit several parts of northern China early this year, damaging homes and blocking roads. The highest warning signal has been issued in multiple cities as snowfall broke local records in various areas. Large parts of the country, including Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei and Inner Mongolia, experienced this winter's first significant snowfall and rain on Saturday, according to the China Met Administration. As per reports, Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region in the north has received 50-centimeter deep snowfall. The CMA has warned that the cold snap and snowfall could have a negative impact on the country's energy supply, agriculture and transport infrastructure. Experts have also warned that the extreme weather is likely to worsen the situation, as several regions have already been grappling with surging fuel prices and power shortages in recent months. The 2022 Winter Olympic Games will take place a few months from now in Beijing, a city which is generally considered having dry weather with less snow and rain in early winters, but an incoming storm could bring a potentially significant snowfall to the region with less than 100 days to go for the Games. The United Nations has said at least 16 of its staff and dependents in Ethiopia have been detained in the capital Addis Ababa. UN spokesperson says it is working closely in the war-torn country to get its staff released immediately. The state-appointed Ethiopian Human Rights Commission has said it had received many reports of arrests of Tigrayans in the capital, including elders and mothers with children. However, police have denied making ethnically motivated arrests, saying they are only targeting supporters of the rebellious Tigrayan forces fighting the central government. Meanwhile, the fighters of Tigray People's Liberation Front and the Oromo Liberation Army were seen in the town of Kemize, situated 200 miles away from the Ethiopian capital. Ethiopia had announced a state of emergency for 6 months on the 2nd of November as Tigrayan forces threatened to capture Addis Ababa. Conflict unfolded in Ethiopia in November 2020 when forces loyal to the TPLF seized military bases in Tigray. In response, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed sent troops to the northern region. Thousands have been killed and more than 2 million have fled their homes in fighting since then. And a pregnant Yemeni journalist was killed in a car explosion in Aden on Tuesday. Witnesses and medical sources said in the latest incident of violence in Yemen's southern port city. A police source told Reuters that initial investigations indicated an explosive device was planted on the vehicle carrying Rasha Abdullah al-Harazi and her husband Mahmoud al-Athmi, also a journalist. Al-Athmi was injured, said the two medical sources at Al Jamhuriya Hospital. They also said al-Harazi was pregnant. A video obtained by Reuters shows young children and babies in a migrant camp on the Belarusian border with Poland. Filmed in the Grodno district of Belarus by an anonymous source self-identified as a migrant, the footage shows children and babies inside the camp and families living in tents. Hundreds of migrants shivering in freezing temperatures and huddled around campfires on the Belarusian border with Poland on Tuesday, with in front of razor wire fences and lines of Polish border guards blocking their entry into the European Union. The European Commission said Belarus was illegally offering migrants easy entrance into the EU via its territory. Nearly 2,000 migrants have gathered at the border and are trying to enter the EU, the Commission said, adding that the bloc was ready to assist Poland at short notice if asked. An impeachment process against Chilean President Sebastián Piñera over allegations of irregularities in the sale of a mining firm will advance to the Senate after being approved by a majority of deputies in the lower chamber. After almost 22 hours of debate, the vote to proceed passed with the minimum 78 votes needed versus 67 against and 3 abstentions. In the Senate, it would require a higher threshold of the vote at 2/3 of the 43 senators. The impeachment proceedings against Piñera come after new details emerged about the deal in the Pandora Papers leak, a huge cache of documents that revealed offshore transactions involving global political and business figures. Among them were documents that appear to outline a deal involving the 2010 sale of a Dominga mine, a sprawling copper and iron project in Chile. At the time, Piñera, a billionaire businessman, was in his first year of his first term in office. The leak stirred controversy in Chile because it suggested the deal, which involved a firm linked to Piñera's family, was contingent on a favorable regulatory environment. The sale had previously been examined and dismissed by courts in 2017.
Nunca antes en la historia de este país.
Never before in the history of this country, a president of a republic, while being in office, has been accused of two things as serious as having violated human rights and at the same time having compromised the honor of the nation. But I hope the chamber will approve the constitutional accusation. Otherwise, the country will judge those parliamentarians who oppose it or who voted against it. Chile will judge, and Chile's people will judge those who are allowing this impunity in the country, Mr. President.
And protesters took to the street in Aghreb town in Sfax as a dispute over the reopening of a landfill was responded by one of the biggest street demonstrations to hit Tunisia since July's power grab by its president. Tunisian police used tear gas on Sunday evening to disperse a group of demonstrators gathered in Aghreb to protest the Tunisian Environment Ministry's decision to reopen the El Gona landfill. The residents were angered by the decision taken by the Environment Ministry and exasperated by the serious environmental situation in the city. Protesters took to the streets and clashed with law enforcement, who were deployed in riot gear. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison on Tuesday said that the country's pathway to zero emissions by 2050 will be driven by Australians' choices, as the government announced plans to boost infrastructure supporting electric vehicles. The Australian government said it will commit $132 million in new funding to ramp up the rollout of hydrogen refueling and charging stations for electric vehicles, weeks after adopting a net zero emissions target by 2050. And the strategy will help lower emissions by over 8 million tons of carbon by 2035, put 1.7 million electric vehicles on the roads by 2030, and avoid $166 million of electricity network upgrade costs.
There are a variety of responses and they all have impacts for Australia, and it's important that Australia has a clear plan to be able to deal with those. And our plan for securing Australia's economic recovery very much has our pathway to net zero emissions by 2050 at its heart. And that plan is driven by technology, not taxes. It's driven by backing Australians' choices, not putting mandates on them and telling them what to do.
Electric cars, green shipping lanes and net zero aviation are on the agenda in Glasgow on Wednesday as the COP26 aims to galvanize action to significantly lower transport emissions. One of the COP26 goals is to secure global net zero emissions by mid-century and keep 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature rise within reach. The UK presidency of the Global Climate Summit has said it wants to be the COP that will kickstart the mass market for zero-emission vehicles and hasten the transition to cleaner cars. Countries are being asked to come forward with ambitious 2030 emission reductions, targets that align with reaching net zero by the middle of the century. To deliver on these targets, the COP26 presidency said that countries will need to accelerate the phase-out of coal, curtail deforestation and speed up the switch to electric vehicles. Road transport accounts for 10% of global emissions, and its emissions are rising faster than those of any other sector. The COP26 is trying to build consensus on how quickly countries must transition to zero-emission vehicles and is strengthening international collaboration to accelerate the change. On Wednesday, global auto players including ministers, vehicle manufacturers and business leaders are expected to gather and show their commitment to a zero-emission road transport future by 2040 or earlier. The European Union has pledged a package of $115 million to the United Nations Adaptation Fund. The UN Adaptation Fund offers finance to developing countries vulnerable to the impact of climate change. The additional contribution from the EU budget is by far the biggest pledge for the Adaptation Fund made by donors at COP26.
This is about addressing the effects of the crisis that we are already in. Today is the day we need to act on adaptation as well. Financing adaptation is critical. We all repeated that mantra endlessly, but the rhetoric, sadly, is not followed by action. We all need to get cracking, and we all need to do it now. That is why the European Commission will contribute 100 million euros to the Adaptation Fund, because those who need resources for adaptation also need to have predictability and clarity about its delivery.
And in Sri Lanka, at least 12 people were killed as heavy rains and flash floods wreak havoc in the country. Vehicles were seen driving through flooded streets in Puttalam and in capital Colombo. The Met Department has predicted that rains will ease in the next 2 days, but stressed citizens should remain vigilant. The Weather Department has also said that Sri Lanka may witness strong winds and lightning in the days to come. In Spain, drone footage released by local government officials of La Palma showcased lava streams from the Cumbre Vieja volcano reaching Los Guerras beach after falling from a cliff. Authorities say it is unclear whether the recent lava stream on the beach was going to create a new delta of lava or it would join the existing one. Local authorities say seismicity and the emission of sulfur dioxide from the volcano continues its downward trend. Lava has destroyed more than 2,000 properties on the island since the Cumbre Vieja volcano began erupting in mid-September, and thousands more have fled their homes as a precaution, prompting the government last month to pledge 225 million euros in aid. And it's time now for a very short break. But there's more news up ahead here on News on the Hour on DD India. Stay tuned and keep watching. We'll be right back.
Namaste India.
Namaste land. Marhaban ila al-Hind.
Zari India. Salam India.
Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Мы
Inder.
نحن هنود India.
माँ हिंदी हस्ती
Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India.
Your window to rising India. India's voice on global platforms. Latest news from India and around the world. In-depth analysis of global headlines. Watch DD India in your country. Available for downlink in all Southeast Asian countries. STTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 17 at 93.5 degrees east. HDTV broadcast is available through the satellite GSAT 10 at 83 degrees east. For technical details, scan here. Switch to DD India now.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching News on the Hour, and let's now take a look at updates on COVID-19 from across the world. With a record of more than 25 crore 15 lakh cases of COVID-19, the number of recoveries from COVID-19 worldwide has crossed 22 crore 77 lakhs, while the virus has claimed over 50 lakh 79,000 lives so far. The US continues to remain the worst affected, where the number of cases stand at above 4 crore 75 lakhs. The United States has lost more than 7 lakh 78,000 lives to the virus so far. And French President Emmanuel Macron said on Tuesday that those aged 65 and older will need to present proof of a COVID-19 booster shot from mid-December for health passes that provide access to restaurants, trains and planes to remain valid. The third shot, so far available only for people older than 65 and the vulnerable, will from early December also be available for the 50 to 64 age group. Macron said in a televised address. The health pass is required to enter restaurants and bars, to go to the gym or a conference, and for long-distance train and plane journeys. He also said Europe was seeing a fifth wave of corona infections, and in France there is an alarming rise in the number of COVID-19 hospital patients and in the spread of cases. France registered 12,476 new confirmed infections on Tuesday, the highest level since September 8th, a health ministry data showed.
A campaign has been launched since the end of the summer for all over 65 years and the most vulnerable, and now we need to speed it up. If you were vaccinated more than 6 months ago, I can call you to protect yourself by making an appointment now with a vaccination center, your doctor or your pharmacist. This booster can be done at the same time as the flu shot. From December 15, you will need a proof of the booster shot to extend the validity of your health pass.
And health workers in England will have to be vaccinated against COVID-19 by the 1st of April, Health Minister Sajid Javid said on Tuesday, making it a mandatory condition of employment for those on the front line of the National Health Service. The move sees England follow the likes of France, Italy and some US states in ordering healthcare workers to get vaccinated. Javid said there would be exemptions for compulsory vaccinations for those who can't get vaccinated for medical reasons and for those who don't have face-to-face contact with patients. The move follows a similar decision to make COVID-19 vaccines compulsory for care home workers, which comes into force on Thursday.
I have concluded that all those working in the NHS and social care will have to be vaccinated. We must avoid preventable harm and protect patients in the NHS, protect colleagues in the NHS and, of course, protect the NHS itself.
And in other international news, NASA has delayed its plans to launch astronauts into the moon by a year to 2025. The US Space Agency has announced that the schedule has been delayed due to multiple reasons, chief among them being litigation against it for a contract awarded to SpaceX to build the lunar lander. Another reason cited has been the US Congress's failure to provide adequate funding in its previous budget. Earlier, the Trump administration had set the aggressive goal of returning humans to the lunar surface by 2024, an initiative named Artemis intended as a stepping stone towards the even more ambitious objective of sending astronauts to Mars. The US now finds itself in a race with China to land humans on the moon since the final Apollo landing in 1972. In cricket, India's squad for the upcoming T20 series against New Zealand has been announced. The All India Senior Selection Committee of the BCCI picked a 16-member squad for the T20 series against New Zealand. Rohit Sharma has been appointed as the new captain of the India team. India is set to play 3 T20 matches starting from the 17th of November. The opening match will be played at Jaipur, while the other two will be played at Ranchi and Kolkata. The committee also picked the India A squad for the South Africa tour, scheduled to start from 23rd of November in Bloemfontein. The team will play 3 4-day matches during the tour. And the first semi-final of the ICC T20 World Cup 2021 takes place today, where England take on New Zealand at Abu Dhabi. England qualified for the semi-final after topping the Group 1 points table, winning 4 matches out of 5 and earning 8 points. New Zealand finished on the second spot with 8 points in Group 2. Prime Minister Narendra Modi today congratulated the Indian shooters who won medals at the recently concluded International Shooting Sport Federation President's Cup in the Polish city of Wrocław. Prime Minister Modi wished the best to Manu Bhakat, Rahi Sarnobat, Saurav Chaudhary and Abhishek Verma for their future endeavours after they won medals in the President's Cup. The Prime Minister also congratulated wrestlers Shivani Pawar, Anju Divya Kakran, Radhika and Nisha Dahiya for winning medals at the recently concluded Under-23 World Wrestling Championships in Belgrade. By virtue of this historic feat, India had its most successful outing at the event since its inaugural edition in 2017. Chhat Puja is being celebrated with religious fervor and gaiety in Bihar, Jharkhand and eastern Uttar Pradesh. Devotees who have started 36 hours of fasting will now pay offerings to the setting sun today evening. Chhat will conclude after offering peace offerings to the rising sun tomorrow morning. President Ramnath Kovind on Tuesday extended greetings to fellow citizens on the eve of Chhat Puja. In a message, the President said, on the occasion of Chhat Puja, I extend my warm greetings and best wishes to all fellow citizens living in India and abroad. Prime Minister Narendra Modi too wished the people good health, happiness and prosperity. On the occasion, Chhat is celebrated on the 6th day of the month of Kartik in the Vikram Samvat. It is said those who perform the festival with full devotion and they will have all their desires fulfilled. During the celebrations, people thank the sun, the god of energy and life force, for sustaining life on earth. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the news, but news and updates continue on DD India. So stay tuned. Namaskar.